everyone. Present the colors.
Detail, pull, face. Present, hook.
I'd like to welcome everybody here today. Wow, we got a great crowd. Thank you. And these guys deserve it. Anybody that gave their life for our country. Right now we'll have our prayer, opening prayer given by Mike Gimmon from the Avenue of Flags Chaplain. Oh, I couldn't find you.
Okay. Uncover. Father of all nations, we are gathered here today to dedicate this monument to all the veterans who died in battle and to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. The name is on this wall, tell it all. Lord, we ask you to bless their souls. We ask you to bless their souls whose graves are only known to you. Many died on active duty on December 7, 1941. Others enlisted or were drafted. They fought with valor, and with no matter how hard to fight, they stood their ground. They saw their buddies killed and maimed. They kept on going to secure freedom in both Europe and the South Pacific. They came home with mentally and physically disabled. As veterans, they fought through it all. They came home putting their lives together to become the greatest generation. They helped save the United States of America and let our nation become the greatest in the world. Lord, every day you receive the souls of the W2 generation, take them into your bosom. There is no more sorrow or no more pain. They are together with their fellow veterans. We ask you to put your divine hand on the forehead of those mentally and physically challenged so they do not harm themselves or anyone else. We pray in our mother's name, Mary, for peace throughout the generations. No more flags at half-staff, no more flag draft coffins, but please, no more names on our monuments or walls. 383 are enough. God bless America, our troops, and our first responders. Amen. Please be covered. So the reader. Yeah. Where is she? There she is. Take my chair.
Now we'll have Adele Gimon, who is the Clifton Garfield Elks chaplain.
Excuse me. We're told that during World War II, one of the worst things that you could see if you were in your home was somebody walking up with a telegram or two officers from the service, because you knew then that your loved one had died. I'm reading a telegram that was received by Juliana Myers to Mrs. Juliana N. Meyer, 175 Arlington Avenue, Clifton, New Jersey. The Secretary of War desires me to express his deep regret that your husband, First Lieutenant Meyer Harold, died of wounds on Okinawa, 21st May 1945. Confirming letter follows. Julio, the Adjutant General. The letter that she received. Dear Mrs. Myers, I deeply regret that it is necessary to confirm the telegram of recent date informing you of the death of your husband, First Lieutenant Harold C. Meyer, 0415789, infantry, who died on 21st May 1945 on Okinawa, Ryukyu Island as a result of wounds received in action. I wish I could give you more information, but casualty reports are necessarily brief and contain only essential facts. However, provisions have been made for the unit commander or chaplain to send a letter containing further information to the emergency addressee or next of kin of each person who dies overseas in the service of our country. It is not known just when the letter can be expected, but it is hoped that it will not be long delayed. The significance of his heroic service to his country will be preserved and commemorated by a grateful nation, and it is hoped that this thought may give you strength and courage in your sorrow. My deepest sympathy is extended to you in your bereavement. Sincerely yours, J.A. Julio, Major General, the Adjutant General of the Army.
Thank you, Odell. Now we have the Pledge of Allegiance given by Joe Tuzolino, a Vietnam vet and one of my partners in the Avenue of Flags.
Stand by. Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order. Two.
Thank you, Joe. Now we will have our national anthem sung by Katie Lipinski.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bones burst
job. 10 years old, Katie. Before we start the rest of our program, I think it's appropriate that we give a moment of silence for all those on that monument. Thank you. There's a lot of people here. I'm not going to introduce everybody, but there's two people I am going to introduce because I think they're very special. World War II vets. First one, Joe Garofalo, 95 years old. Joe, where are you? I see him over there. And better than that, we got one up. Frank Petriello, 99 years old, right in the front here. Frank, God bless you. Really, God bless you. And then all veterans, please stand or raise your hand to be recognized. Thank all of our veterans. It is Veterans Day, can't forget that. Thank you all our veterans. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you did for our country. Everybody can please sit down. Okay, we have to do a lot of thank yous because this didn't happen by sheer luck, that's for sure. So first I want to introduce the committee from the Avenue of Flags. Myself, I'm Keith Oakley. We have Joe Tezzolino. Where's the rest of the guys? Marie Schulteis, John McGuire, and Bill Vanek. These guys do all this work to make this happen. I apologize the flags aren't up today, but we couldn't with the weather. So, but we are up to 2,155 flags, by the way. Next, we got to thank Paul Groppi and his crew because they made this monument happen. I want to thank the city of Clifton. We want to thank people that work with us a lot. Doris from City Hall, Marcia. Doris does a lot of work. She's been here since the beginning doing all of our work. Marcia, all of our volunteers, the fire department, the police department, Pat Mayer doing all the filming, and the DPW, because they do a wonderful job setting up. They came here today, cleaned the place up, did everything for us, so we appreciate that. Three other ones we're going to introduce. Is Marco here from the Stone? No? Okay, Marco's not here. Three people had a lot to do with the Stone. There he is, okay. That helped get the Stone and stuff for there. Even though it was like a business, they went into the other limit with this. They really did. So Marco from New York Stone, I want to recognize you. Is Vinny here? Vinny, no? There he's Vinny. Oh, Vinny. Okay, Vinny. He did all the stairs and the sidewalk and all the base and all of that. Thank him for that. And then I'm going to introduce one more guy. His name is Val. We call him Val the Etcher. He actually etched every name that's on that monument. But he's got one heck of a story, and he took this very personal doing this. And he does a lot of monuments all over the place. He does them, he did 9/11, he did them all over, and he never gets recognized. So I thought we'd recognize Val today for all the etching that he's done. You got 30 seconds, Val, that's it. Oh.
Hello, everybody. Okay. It was an honor and privilege working on this memorial to the 283 Clifton men who sacrificed their lives for this country. Today, I salute and thank the past and present men and women here and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate price. 75 years ago, brave American soldiers liberated the Nazi slave labor camp where my parents, I, and many others were kept captive for almost 2 years. Were it not for their bravery, I would not be here today. Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Val. Val has a really story. I won't go into it too much, but yeah, they were Russian. They were in a labor camp during World War II. He was like 6 years old, and it's a really unbelievable story. But he has a lot to live for, and he really took this serious. We appreciate that. Okay, now we are going to do the moment everybody's here to see. We're going to unveil our monument right now. So Paul and Mike, if you would come up and unveil the monument. Yeah, they're there already. There you go. 283 names. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, one from Iraq. Beautiful. It's a really beautiful tribute. Clifton should be proud that we have this going on here, let me tell you. And now I'm going to introduce the man who made it happen, Paul Grappe.
This is something that John Beagle and I had talked about for a long, long time. And it's not about me, it's about the 283. There's stories with every one of them. You go throughout the city and there's people connected in many, many ways. You go right I grew up in Albion Place, better known as Beantown, and you start on the bottom of Gillis Street, and then you find the family in World War I. You go 2 blocks up, you got the Taverna family, lost a son, and one prisoner of war. You go to the top of Gillis Street, and Jimmy Potter was a pilot killed in the Second World War. Joe Padula and I were there when they carried him out of his house. Go around the corner, you got Joey Amato killed in Korea. Go down to Park Slope, you have the Pino boy. His father worked for the state police, I'll never forget the colonel. Came there and paid his respects and was involved in the funeral. I was a motorcycle officer at that time, and I had that funeral, and I was very much impressed how that was handled. You'd have to go into the barn here to really look at the records and see how much history is involved with the people that are on this stone. You got Vincent Lazaro from Athenia, his nephew was here. My good friend Teddy Kalinka, his older brother was killed when he was 7 years old. You got the 2 Morph brothers from Fenner Avenue, both killed. You have the Weeks brothers who served on the Juno. And you have they grew up on William Street. So there's a lot of history here. We put a lot of thought into this. I'm very happy that Mike Meck and I could come up with the funds to sponsor this, and I can't thank the committee here enough for everything they do to keep this operation going. It's incredible what they do here, and I'm just happy that people can come here now and be able to pay their respects 365 days a year to family members or friends that are listed on the monument. I want to thank everybody for being here.
Thank you, Paul and Mike and your committee, and we can't thank you enough, and 283 people on this monument can't thank you enough either, so God bless you. Now we're going to have a welcome from our Honorable Mayor Anzaldi.
Thank you, Keith. I just want to welcome everyone on behalf of the city family here today to thank the committee, most especially thank Paul for his generosity, to thank Keith and the team here with Joe, that every year we see the flags up 5 times a year. It's a beautiful tribute to our veterans, something that I don't see any other city in the country doing something like that. And this beautiful monument that will pass every day as we get to City Hall that remembers 283 souls that also had families that were affected by their great loss for our nation and for our city. So thank you again. God bless you. God bless our veterans. God bless those who lost their lives and who fought for us. And always, as always, God bless America, the greatest country in the world.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. We want to thank the city, too, for all their cooperation in getting this done and doing this with us. Next, we'll have Joe Tozzolino. He's going to do a few special things. Where are you, Joe? You're up.
That's amazing, isn't it? fantastic. There's a lot of time and effort put in by a lot of people for this. And for the names up there, the families, some of which are here, it's a great honor for you. All right, a remembrance of our fallen. And kind of breaks you up a little bit. I know it does me. And I've watched it from the beginning to now. A couple people couldn't be here to see the fruits of their labor. One of them is John Beagle. He started this whole thing. The plaque on the barn over there. We lost John a couple of years ago, but we're trying to keep up the tradition for him. And the Beagle family, got to tell you, we miss him. All right. The other person we talk about is Walt Brooksma. He was here with John in the beginning. They started this, and look what it's turned into. They started with maybe 100 flags in the beginning. And now 19 years later, you got 2,156. I got another application today. and they keep coming. Believe me, there's more in the mail coming here. 2,156 flags that cover this field. And these guys have a special spot right behind them, the Field of Honor. So we honor these people. We honor these warriors. Some of them I knew. I'm sure everybody knew somebody on there. But there's another person, he doesn't know about this, so he might be happy, he might be a little annoyed with me. But there's another person that I want to honor today. And you've seen him here. You see him all the time. See that truck over there? That's his truck. That's the proud American over there. And we want to honor this guy today, Bill. Come on up here, Bill. Put it up. It's gonna, watch out, don't blow off, Bill. It's, Bill is a Vietnam veteran, United States Army. We refer to him as a cannon cocker because he worked on the large cannons, the artillery, that we and I have called in personally for fire support. But there's one thing about Bill here, and it's right here on the upper right-hand side. He received the Bronze Star. How many people know that? I didn't know that until not too long ago. And I've been every now and then asking him questions about, Bill, what happened? How did you do that? How did you do that? And I finally got the final story the other day. He was on a Special Forces base, fire base, and I believe it was a lieutenant colonel came running up to him. A lieutenant? A lieutenant. Came running up there and says, my unit got ambushed as we were going out the gate for patrol, and they got ambushed out there. And he couldn't find anybody to help him. So he goes to Bill, can you help me? And you know Bill, I'll give you the shirt off his back. And he says, yeah. He grabbed his gun crew. They loaded into a M113 Amtrak, APC, Armored Personnel Carrier. And they went out there and they saved this unit that was being ambushed. They broke the ambush, they loaded the guys up, and they brought them back to safety. And for that, Bill received the Bronze Star. And I mean, so we put a little something up here, pictures, his award, and then a little saying about his award. They've got a picture of his wife, of course, front and center, right? Most important one. And the there's a picture of Bill on his downtime getting a haircut. I figured that was appropriate. But Bill, John, and Walt, we appreciate everything that you've done here. Without you, without those three people, we wouldn't be here where we are now. And Bill, you're appreciated every day. You know that, and we love you. And congratulations.
Thank you, and couldn't happen to a better person, Bill. Okay, now I'm going to call up Frank Niter. Frank had a brother that was killed at 19 years old during World War II. If you know anything about Frank, he's really into these causes, and he writes a lot of poetry, and he wrote a poem for Gold Star Mothers. And if you don't know what a Gold Star Mother is, when your son is killed, you're a Gold Star Mother. So Frank, if you would like to come up and do your poem, please.
Okay, thank you. My brother was Bill Niter in the Marine Corps. He was killed at Okinawa, bringing in a wounded Marine. Before I say anything, all these names over here you see, they all had dreams. My brother had dreams. They dreamt of coming back, being married, having kids, maybe going to picnics, getting kids, having Thanksgiving dinner, maybe even going to Palisades Park, all cut short in their life. My brother's dreams, that he wrote that's what he wanted to do. Another thing, that POW flag, which you see, a lot of people don't know who designed it. It was a personal friend of mine, a guy named Newt Hemsley. He was a pilot during the Second World War. He wrote that POW-MIA flag, and the silhouette on that flag is his son. His son was in the Marine Corps during Vietnam War, and he came back, he got sick, and he got thin, and his father seen him, he said, he looks like a prisoner of war, and that silhouette on that flag is Newt Hemsley's son. And one more thing. After the Battle of Okinawa at the cemetery, the Marines used to walk at the tombstones looking for their buddies. One Marine said, they gave their lives today for our tomorrows. Okay. I also have laid a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington Cemetery, honoring my brother and all veterans. That was in 2006. Put my glasses on. I did this to honor my mother, Catherine Niter, and my brother, Bill Niter. Gold Star Mother. I cried out in pain as I read the letter. My life from this day will never get better. The lines were blurred as I tried to see. The words said that my son died for country and me. The years go by, I still call his name. The dream I had will never be the same. The memories that were of the son I had are now nightmares when my days are bad. Part of me died when my son was killed. There is an emptiness that can never be filled. Night after night, as I lay in my bed, I still can't believe my son is dead. But the love of a mother can never die. I can't forget, and I sometimes cry. I keep on living, but I think of the past. The years go by ever so fast. When my life on the earth is finally done, the emptiness will be gone, for I'll be with my son. In my thoughts, I can see him still. In my dreams, I called his name Bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Now we're gonna, oh, watch. Okay. Now we're gonna have some speakers of family members like Frank that have names on the monument there. First, we're gonna call up Nancy Schneider, and she's the great-grandniece of Tim Condon, who was killed in World War I in 1918. Nancy.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning, everyone. I'm a little nervous here, but it's really been an honor to be here this morning. Thank you, would you? Not only as a longtime volunteer for the Avenue of Flags, but also to represent my family in honoring my great uncle, Timothy Condon, who just went sailing across the pavement there. Thank you. Timothy, he was a true blue Clifton gentleman who bravely served the United States as a private in the First World War, but whose short life ended in 1918 on the battlefields on the Argonne Forest in France. My great uncle Tim was born in 1891, and he grew up here in Clifton at 10 Gillis Street, as Mr. Graupe just mentioned, in Beantown. He was the first American-born child of my great-grandparents, John Condon and Mary Carmody Condon, who had immigrated to New Jersey from Ireland in the mid-1880s. Tim was part of a large Irish Catholic family consisting of 3 brothers and 4 sisters, including my maternal grandmother, Elizabeth Condon Capelli. All the Condon kids attended School 5 on Valley Road, and the entire Condon family were faithful parishioners at St. Agnes's Church in Patterson. Like many men at the time who lived in Clifton and thereabout, my Uncle Tim worked at the silk mills in Patterson, and after several years of employment as a silk dyer at the Perfection Silk Mills, my great uncle registered for the draft in June of 1917. He was inducted into the United States Army on February 23, 1918, and reported for basic training at what was then known as Camp Dix, where he was later joined by his younger brother John Condon, who also served in the Army in World War I. Tim was assigned to Company M of the 309th Infantry, and he was shipped off to France on May 19th of 1918, where he and his colleagues from the 309th bravely fought several battles, including the Battle of Saint-Mihiel, and also ultimately to the Meuse-Argonne offensive, which was the bloodiest battle in American military history. With more than 1.2 million Allied soldiers participating in the Meuse-Argonne offensive, it was the largest operation of the American forces in France during World War I. The objective at the time was to try to capture a railroad hub so that they could divide the German army. The battle that was led by Governor Pershing began on September 26, 1918, and it raged on for 47 days at a great cost, as 26,000 servicemen from America were killed in action. Ultimately, the American forces did push through the German lines and eventually brought an end to World War I when the armistice was signed on November 11th of 1918. Back on Gillis Street in Beantown, my great-grandparents, John and Mary, were notified that Tim was lost in action during the Battle of the Argonne Forest. Shortly afterward, they were devastated by the official notification that their 27-year-old firstborn son was killed in action on October 16, 1918, less than 4 weeks before the end of World War I. Tim was buried in France on November 5th with military honors. Just as a side note, over 70,000 American soldiers died in France during World War I, and at the time, the logistics of trying to return all those fallen American soldiers to the United States for reburial was judged to be a bit prohibitive at the time. General Pershing and even former President Theodore Roosevelt felt very strongly that all the doughboys who died in France should stay in France with their fallen comrades. But luckily, the War Department contacted families of all the fallen soldiers, including my great-grandparents, and asked what they would have wished for their lost loved ones. Overwhelming responses in favor of bringing the soldiers home resulted in the return of 42,000 American soldiers who had died in France during the war. Beginning in July 1919, ships carrying the caskets of fallen soldiers began docking in Hoboken. But unfortunately, my great-uncle, Timothy Condon, didn't make it onto any of those early ships in 1919, and he didn't make it on the ship in 1920 either. However, on a cold day, on November 29th of 1921, over 3 years from when he lost his life in battle at the Argonne Forest, my great-uncle Tim was laid to rest at the Condon family plot in Calvary Cemetery in Paterson. It's been 102 years since my great-uncle Tim made the ultimate sacrifice for his country on a World War I battlefield in France. Aside from his parents and his siblings, co-workers, and neighbors, most of my family never had the good fortune to meet my Uncle Tim, because the year he died was the first year that the first of his many nieces and nephews were born here in Clifton, including my mom, the late Peggy Capelli Schneider, who would have been so proud to be here today to honor the uncle that she never met, but who graciously shared his kind smile and his reddish-brown fabulous hair with her. So I guess you could say he lived on in all of our family. On behalf of my family, I thank you all for the opportunity to honor my great-uncle Tim, but also to honor all the soldiers from Clifton who lost their lives and are being remembered in such a moving way on this very special Veterans Day. So thank you, and thank you to all the staff at the Avenue of the Flags and all the amazing volunteers who give so much of their time to keep our veterans alive in our hearts. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. Next, we have Anita Scangarella, who's going to talk about her uncle, Steve Messinio.
I'm going to talk about Second Lieutenant Stephen Messinio, the uncle I never met. Born on January 7th, 1917 in Passaic, New Jersey, he graduated from Clifton High School in June 1935. He was a lifeguard at the Clifton Pool on Main Avenue back in the 1930s. He entered the service on August 20th, 1941. Second Lieutenant Messinio trained at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Camp Wheeler, Georgia, and received his commission in November 1942 at Fort Benning, Georgia, prior to going overseas after completing Officer Candidate School. He was assigned to the 45th Inventory Division. The division went overseas in September 1943. After 2 months in North Africa, the division moved to Italy. Here he was wounded and received the Purple Heart, which is right over here. One of the lieutenants, Lieutenant Sheaton, was assigned to Lieutenant Messinio's platoon. Lieutenant Sheaton was not battle-wise, but said Lieutenant Messinio assumed the job of orienting him to ways of mountain fighting. He said Steve's knowledge was invaluable. They landed in Anzio beachhead in January 1944. It was a comparatively quiet front the first few weeks. Lieutenant Messinio was transferred to the weapons platoon, which meant an eventual first lieutenant promotion. They had pulled back about 800 yards to reserve position. Steve, at this particular time, left his dugout to check on his men. While he was returning, a German saw him and shot him dead. He died without pain and doing the performance of his duties. He was very well respected by the men and officers alike. His passing left a void not easily filled. My grandmother's first name was Antonina, and when my uncle wrote home to his parents, he shortened the name to Anita. My mother fell in love with the name, and the rest was history. My mother received the message when Steve was wounded, and she received the message when he was killed. At the time, they sent messages home to the soldiers' home to tell their families the status of their loved ones. I could only imagine the devastation of my grandparents to know that their only son was killed in the country they originally came from. They buried him in Latino, Italy, and then by request of my family to the National Cemetery of Farmingdale, Long Island, New York. And I had the privilege this Sunday to go back with my sister to see the grave, and we put a flag by the grave. And over here, I have a picture that my Aunt Joe was an artist, and this is the original picture that they took just before he left to go to war. And this is a picture of Messineo Plaza. If you go all the way down Clifton Avenue and you make a right where the AutoZone is, there's a little park there and a dollar store on the other side. Messineo Plaza is right there. And my aunt was probably one of the first people to get a flag when they first started this. And that's my story.
Thank you, Anita. And I want to tell you that all of these people that are coming up, they're also flag volunteers that help us with the flags too. So that's why it means more to them than maybe somebody else. Okay, next we have Judy Hazekamp, and she's going to speak about her uncle Fred Hazekamp, who died in World War II.
Like everybody else, I didn't know my Uncle Fred either, but he had 16 nieces and nephews that he never met. He was from the Hazekamp family. They lived on East 1st Street in Clifton, and I just have this little thing to read because I really didn't know him, so I can only tell you what this says. Mr. and Mrs. George Hazekamp received a telegram from the War Department that their son, Technical Sergeant Fred Hazekamp, died of wounds suffered in action in Belgium, December 31st, 1944. He was in an armored tank when he was wounded. Hazekamp, in his last letter home, indicated that he had become separated from his company just before he was fatally wounded. He wrote that he had caught up with his unit and he and his buddies had enjoyed a reunion. He seemed in good spirits, and he extended Christmas greetings to his family and friends. He was one of 9 brothers and sisters, 3 sisters, 5 brothers. He joined the Army June 5th, 1943, and received his training at Camp Butner, North Carolina. He went overseas in December of 1943. He was buried in Luxembourg Cemetery, which lies just within the limits of Luxembourg City, where many who gave their lives in the Battle of the Bulge are buried. His brother George, 24 at the time, who was my dad, a corporal, was wounded in France September 1st, 1944, and was returned to the United States for treatment at the Halloran General Hospital, which I think was in Texas, but I'm not sure. My dad didn't talk about this much. He was a happy guy, and he just went on with life. He reportedly had 8 operations on his hand and foot and lost a thumb. He also gave up his right hand for our country. My father did. He also suffered an injury to his mouth. There was another brother, Abraham, 31, was given a medical discharge in 1944 after serving with an Army anti-aircraft unit, the Air Force, and Army engineers in Virginia and Louisiana, something I didn't know all these years. He had 3 other brothers, Comer, Lambert, and Herman, and 3 sisters, Ruth Williams, Connie Stanek, and Hester DeVos. A brother-in-law, Gerard DeVos, served in the Navy. Now this week I had received something from the veterans in the mail, and it's a poem. It's called God Bless the Red, White, and Blue. Dear Lord, I fought for freedom for many nights and days. It's now on bended knee I come to you, these words please hear me pray. For all my friends and patriots who never said a word, just raised their hand and gave a nod when they were asked to serve. Please honor them and hold them. Your love keep them from harm. May they find some peace tonight in your loving arms. For all who love this country and stood up so brave and true, it's only for her rights we fight. God bless the red, white, and blue. Amen.
We appreciate that. Now we will have Wayne Stein, and he's going to talk about Steve Gumbax from his family that was also killed in World War II.
Thanks, Keith.
Good afternoon. Guess my speech didn't fare well with my back pocket all wrinkled up. But I'd like to thank my wife and my wife's family for being here. I'm honored to be here to speak on our behalf for Private First Class Stephen Gumboach, who was killed in World War II. I'd also like to thank two of my heroes here today. One's a true American patriot. The other is a true American warfighter. I'm talking about Keith Oakley and Joey Tozzolino for making this happen here today. I love you guys, really do. I also want to give a shout out to my brothers in blue, my brothers and sisters right behind me, in blue over here, standing tall. Awesome seeing them come out here. I received a phone call last week from my wife's uncle, Julius. He resides in Texas. He was concerned that his cousin, Stephen Gumboach, who was killed at KIA, would not be remembered. I assured him that he would not be forgotten thanks to Keith and Tuzzy. PFC Stephen Gumboach grew up in Clifton's Botany section. He enlisted in the U.S. Army and was assigned to the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division. His unit was initially deployed to North Africa, where General Patton led his troops against General Erwin Rommel's German 75th Panzer Infantry Divisions. The 3rd ID redeployed to help secure Anzio Beach, Italy. PFC Gumboach's unit fought in Operation Diadem, which was May into June 1944. This was the 4th battle of Monte Cassino. 3rd ID fought a tough battle against the fierce German 10th Army Division. The objective was to break the German defense and breach the main route into Rome. 3rd ID fought hard, and the Germans fell back from the Gustav line of defense 10 miles to the Hitler line of defense. On May 23, 1944, American troops attacked the Hitler line, while 6 Corps attacked out of the Anzio beachhead. This resulted in an Allied battlefield victory, however, not without heavy loss of American and German soldiers. PFC Stephen Gumboach was killed in action May 23, 1944. His sacrifice for our great nation will forever be engraved into the soul of America. God bless you all. God bless America.
Thank you, Wayne. Good job. Okay, now we're going to Vietnam right now, and we're going to call on Alan Banco, who's going to talk about Rich Siren, who was killed in Vietnam. But why this is a little special is he's not a family member. He served with them there in Vietnam. So that's really, to us, that's a really special thing to be able to talk about that. Alan?
I'm here today to talk about Richie Siren. If you can see the high school, that's where I met Richie, in Clifton High School. I was a senior and he was a junior. If you didn't know Richie, he was a tall, skinny guy. He was very pleasant and congenial, and he loved to play basketball, and so did I. So unfortunately, we played on different teams in the CYO leagues and the recreation department leagues. One thing else about Richie has had a smile. A little smile, if you look closely, you could see it, and I couldn't at least help but smile back. I don't know if it was as big as his, but that's what I did. Well, time went on, and I knew he was a nice guy because I worked at Hal Richardson's scale for a year and a half before I got drafted. And my secretary over there always mentioned Richie Siren. And I said, he must be a good guy. If somebody's mother says, he's a good boy, son, stay with him. And he did. I talked casually with him about in basketball, so I got to know him pretty good. And but as time goes by, I got drafted in January of 1968. And before I knew it, I was in Vietnam, in Cu Chi, in the 25th. Okay, thank you. And I was in 25th Infantry Division. And shortly thereafter, I got a letter from one of my friends saying that his brother Joey was being drafted and he was being sent to Vietnam. So I told him, well, if he comes to the 25th Infantry and stops in at the 125th Signal Battalion to come see me. Well, off Joey went, and he got orders to come to the 25th Infantry. But before he left Long Bend to come to the 25th, he ran into Richie Siran, and Richie and him both got assigned to the 25th. And they came to look for me shortly thereafter while they were in training for combat in Vietnam. And well, I looked up one day in the non-commissioned officers room, and there they were, and we had a good talk. It was nice to see somebody from Clifton, another botany boy, and a guy from Athenia, section of Clifton. And we talked a lot. We had a lot to talk about in the sports in Clifton High School. And you can talk to people that you meet in the service, but it's not like talking to somebody that you've known from your hometown. And that's what those two guys did for me, Richard and Joey. Occasionally, since I was a mechanic, I didn't have to do the footwork that these two guys did. So they could come see me whenever they had a free time. I was fortunate. I had a good commanding officer for my company, and he says, anytime these guys come in, you just tell somebody that you're leaving and go out with them and have a good time. And that's what we did for a couple of hours of being human again. We did not have computers or telephones to get in touch with anybody at the time, so we got in touch with letters. Now, letters you can send for nothing. It was free to send anywhere in Vietnam, and I communicated with them, and it was good. It took about 10 days to get to the person in the field, and another 10 days to come back to me. And Joey eventually got wounded twice, so after 2 months, he was sent to Japan for recovery, and he did. He got better. I just talked to him this morning. But Richie, one time, I wrote him a letter, and I didn't get any answer back for about 3 weeks. So I said, well, maybe he's visiting, he just can't get in touch with me. Well, about 7 weeks went by, and finally I got a big envelope from the Department of the Army. And I said, now I know they can't draft me again, so I said, well, let's see what it is. Well, I opened it up, and as I opened it up, the last letter that I had written to Richie dropped down on the floor, and I said, this is not good. I opened it up, and it said that Richie had died on June 6th, 1969, and it took me a long time to get over it. One of the reasons why I'm glad to be here today is that I can officially say goodbye to Richie. And I pray for Richie and others every time I get a chance on these holidays. And I'm proud of Richie because he did what he took the oath to do when he went to Newark. You say that you're going to take care of your country and our way of life, and he certainly lived up to that. And may God bless him, and may God love him. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Couldn't have said anything better than that. Now we have a special treat. I think a special treat. We met this woman a couple of years ago, and she came here and said, wow, what is going on here with the flags? And we told her what's going on. She immediately bought a section, bought herself a flag. And she was a major in the Army, 25 years as a nurse. So I'd like to introduce Major Cecilia Murray.
Thank you for that introduction. I am a veteran. Unlike most of the people you've heard from this morning, I am a lucky one, I guess. I come from a family of veterans, but we've never lost anybody in war. So I'm thankful for that. But all that's going on this morning has made me a little emotional, so please bear with me. I just want to talk about veterans in general. On this, the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II, we're reminded, of course, and you've heard here this morning, that it started with World War I. At the end of World War I, in 1918, on this day, November 11th, that armistice was signed. And then the next year, President Woodrow Wilson made Armistice Day, declared that he declared November 11th, 1919 as Armistice Day. And so it wasn't until 1938 that it actually became a national holiday. Then in 1954, people with higher pay grades than me and who recognized the fact that we should honor not just the fallen, but anybody who was put on the uniform. In 1954, it was made the name was changed from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. So veteran is anybody, people like you, people like me. You turn to your left or to your right, you may see a veteran and not know it, because very often, except in this kind of setting, they're in their jeans and t-shirt. You're not seeing somebody who's in some kind of uniform for the most part. The veteran could be anybody here, the postman, the firefighter, the police officer, a school teacher, the bagger at the grocery store, even the homeless person that sleeps in the park. You never know, because veterans come in all shapes and sizes. They're everyday people who are there to keep the peace, to protect our freedom. They're unsung heroes. And generally, if you talk to somebody who's a veteran, they'll say things like, I was just doing my job. I'm nobody special. But thankfully, we realize that they are, in fact, somebody special. Veterans Day, in particular, is to honor and to remember, whether you had one tour of duty or 10, whether it was in wartime or as a peacekeeper, whether you're serving on the home front or abroad, whether you're called to arms through the draft or like me as a volunteer. This is a day to reflect the sacrifices that the men and women who have worn our uniforms have made for this country. Because if you served in the military, you made a difference, whether you know it or not. You stepped up, ready to serve, excuse me. You were prepared and willing to fight, if necessary, to die for your country. And there is a quote that I like that says, a veteran is someone who, at some point in their life, wrote a check payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including my life. It's a check payable on demand. And you've heard this morning about people who paid that check. Today's dedication honors those people who paid that ultimate price. I would like to stand with all of you to honor them. It is a day that provides a national platform for gratitude and appreciation to our veterans. So when you see a veteran, thank a veteran. Little things you may say, thanks for your service, might not seem like much to you, but it touches those who have served. I can tell you that as a nurse, while I didn't have any of my own personal family members that perished through war or through their wounds of war, I can tell you that you can take comfort in knowing that there were people like me that were there holding the hand of somebody who passed away. Because we too feel that no person should die alone. It's important to us, as it may, I expect would be important to you, that when someone is losing their life, they're paying that ultimate price, that they know that they are appreciated. I am proud to be among your ranks. It is with great pride and honor that I wish each and every one a very safe and happy Veterans Day. To all who swore the oath, who wore the uniform honorably, who made themselves available to a grateful and even sometimes not so grateful nation. We thank you for your service. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Major. That was a great speech, saluting our veterans. Okay, we're getting near the end. I know it's been a little long, but I have to tell you that I wish we could say something about all 283 names up there. I wish we could, but of course, time and not around. But they all deserve something. But we do have, I think, family members here that didn't speak or didn't want to speak. But Lazaro, I know, is here. I don't know if there's any other family members that have names up there, but that's it. Okay. And then we have, I just want to tell you a couple of facts that we've gone through a lot of these names. I think I know everyone by heart almost, and all of their stories. And just to let you know a few things that in Clifton, what we have Sperling, who was the first soldier to be killed in World War II at Pearl Harbor. We have, as I said before, Paul mentioned the Weeks brothers on the USS Juneau. There were also two other people from Clifton, Radkin and Pagnillo were also killed with him. So we had 4 people on one ship in Clifton killed. And then we had the Bernarski family. They had 2 sons killed, one in Italy, one in Germany, and one did live. We had the only POW killed from Clifton in World War II, Charles Hoyman Jr. He was killed in Burma, tortured and killed by the Japanese in a prisoner of war camp. That's a terrible thing. And he just missed the Bataan Death March, and he ended up dying anyway. In Vietnam, we had William Zalewski. He was in World War II. He served in Iwo Jima, got the Purple Heart. Then he served in Vietnam. He was a Mastery Gunner Sergeant, which in the Marine Corps is a big high office. He was killed in Vietnam after 35 years in the United States Marine Corps. He was 51 years old. He was our oldest KIA from Clifton. And he is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. And the last person I want to say something about was William Malcolm. He was also killed in Vietnam. This guy was a lifer, and he was at President Kennedy's grave when President Kennedy died. He also was at President Kennedy's inauguration. He was in Washington for quite a while doing all that, and then they sent him to Vietnam. And he was also one of the soldiers at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier that guarded that. And if you know what that is, these guys are very special, very few. He was killed in Vietnam in May of 1970, and he was the last Clifton soldier to be killed in Vietnam. So that's just a few stories to tell you about these men that you see here. Now we're going to have our beautiful Katie sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide to found. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide to found. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. My home, sweet home.
Beautiful, Kate. You are a Clifton treasure, let me tell you. Okay, we're almost at the end now. I just want to warn everybody, after our closing prayer, we'll have a cannon salute and then taps. So I will ask our resident chaplain, Mike, to come up and do the closing prayer, please.
Oh, before I do the closing prayer, just say one thing. Mr. Napier, if you go in a room and all everybody else goes in a room and you see a table of one, say MIAPLW with the flag. That flag, we have the honor of returning two of our people. A Marine who has died in Chosin Reservoir and the other one who's died in Tarawa. So that flag there and the American Legion, you go to every American Legion post or any VFW post, you see that table. Nobody sits there. Excuse me, my sinuses are killing me. Uncover, please. Father, we entrust our brothers to your mercy. You led them greatly in life. Now they are free from all cares. Give them peace and happiness forever. The old order has passed away. Welcome them now into your paradise where there is no more sorrow, no more pain, no more weeping, but only peace and joy with you, your Son and the Holy Spirit forever. Eternal rest grant unto our deceased veterans, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. May their souls and all their souls of the faithful departed, through mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. Amen. He said, God bless America, God bless our first responders, and bless their health care people. Thank you. Whoa, whoa.
Thank you.
How you doing? Okay, how are you? Haven't seen you in a long time. I know.
I want to thank Bob Morgan for that thing, and Post 7165 for your cannon salute. We always love to have you. one thing I do want to say, I'm watching this young man here, 99 years old, World War II vet. The first one to stand up when something's going on, the first one to salute. God bless you, man, that's great. And the last thing I just want to say is, before we dismiss, is that this monument is just like the one down in Holmdel and the one in Washington, D.C. You can take a piece of paper and scratch off one of the names. I hope everybody goes up and looks at the monument. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank all the police, the fire, everybody stood there for an hour, guys. Thank you very much. That's the kind of commitment Clifton has to its veterans. So we thank everybody. We have some hot dogs. Retire the colors.
Right.